everybody, it's me, Febury Hassan again. I'm a relationship and personal development coach. I told you that last time, but I'll tell you that every single time. Today we're going to talk about a few things and piggyback off of Tuesday's topic. But first things I want to tell you about a little bit more about me. Again, I'm a relationship and personal development coach, and I'm going to flesh out what that means a little bit. Anyone that's a coach should definitely be able to tell you what their underlying premise is, or what their beliefs are, and what they really base their body of work on. As for me, my body of work is based on a fundamental belief system, and I base this on everything that I do and everywhere that I'm coming from. Is that every relationship we're having is ultimately a reflection of the one we're having with ourselves. And our relationships, our external relationships, are just really a mere reflection of our internal belief systems, and they manifest themselves in our relationships. And we are having a relationship with everything. Don't forget that. We're having a relationship with our money, our health, our family, our friends, our environment. There's no situation where we're not having a relationship. And my overall goal is to help us have better and more engaging relationships across the board in our lives. So some of this I like to tell my clients, both in person, online, or any place else. Consider any conversation you're having with me your dressing room. I'm not selling you anything. You can try it on. If you like it, keep it. If you don't, please just leave it here. I'm not trying to convince anyone of anything. It's just my underlying belief system, and I think we all have something to share with the world. So that's my 2 cents, and I want to share it, right? So before we get started, I want to back up a little bit about coaches. A coach is very different from a therapist, and I want to really give a clear line of demarcation as it relates to that. A therapist, which I am not, and I tell people I'm not a doctor. I don't hold a doctorate, okay? I don't have a counseling degree. I have 15 years of experience in coaching. And the difference between a counselor and a coach is a counselor deals in pathologies. A coach deals with assisting you in getting better right from where you are right now. And I'll give you a really clear example I give anyone that I talk to. Consider if you perhaps play, excuse me, something just popped up on my screen. Sorry about that. Consider if you play basketball and you have a coach, and you're like, yo, coach, I want to work on my jump shot, right? And he's like, okay. So you get in there and you get ready to work on your jump shot, and your coach's like, what's wrong with your knee? And he's like, it seems a little busted, this, that, and your coach says, stop right here. I can't help you with your jump shot because your knee is busted. You have an underlying problem. I can't help you be better right here until you take care of your underlying problem. And that's where you go to a doctor, right? I.e. a therapist, a physical therapist, a physical doctor, what have you, doctor of medicine, before you can even deal with a coach to work on your jump shot. So again, I always tell people, I don't deal in pathologies. I don't deal in the underlying deep-rooted issues that have to be healed first. I deal with, are you ready? Are you coachable to take yourself to the next level? So if I do see something, though people do come to me, and I am astute enough and I am trained to say, well, let's stop right here. You're not ready for coaching. You have some deep-seated underlying things that coaching is not going to propel you forward because you haven't dealt with those things. So I want to be very clear about the line of demarcation. I'm a coach, I'm not a therapist. My goal is to help you get better from right where you are because you're prepared and you're ready to get better. And I can give you tools and tips and techniques and strategies to help to propel yourself forward. So guys, let me know if that makes sense. I think it does. That's kind of my little spill on that part. So today, what I want to talk to you about is intermittent love. Woo! This was one that slapped me in my face once I saw it, because it's really kind of crazy. So last Tuesday, or just Tuesday past, we talked about beliefs and payoffs in relationships. So when we're in relationships, I kind of, I'm not going to go over it too much, but we talked about the fact that if you're in a relationship, there's a payoff there. Stop playing the victim. There's a payoff in you being in that relationship. Rather, it's a positive thing to say out loud or not. It's still a payoff there, and you're never a victim. And all of our payoffs are still attached to underlying belief systems that help to create that payoff being a payoff for us. But something too, a lot of times we wonder, how did I even get here in this negative relationship? Like, I thought I knew better. I thought I was already better. Like, how did I get here? This is crazy. And I'm going to speak about myself personally. It's happened to me. I don't try to act like I'm perfect by any stretch of the imagination. I'm probably always coaching myself through something and having to really look at myself and ask myself the tough questions so that I can have better, healthier, more engaging relationships. But I'm going to tell you a little bit about intermittent love and how it was more or less discovered, or how it's best explained. there were, lab rats. So here we go, they're lab rats, right? So these lab rats, they put them in a cage, obviously, or a controlled environment, shall we say. So think of a relationship as a controlled environment. So in this controlled environment, and so they put him in there, and what they had was a little lever in there, and every time the rat pressed the lever, he got a pellet, right? He got a reward. So he was like, yay, I got it. And they continued with that for a while and allowed the rat or mice or whatever they were to get the pellet. And so he was good at it. He understood the philosophy that if I push this lever, I'm going to get a pellet. So think of that as, i.e., when in a relationship, when I do something, I'm going to get the reward of love or affection or attention, whatever it is, that you seek in a relationship, because we're all seeking something. So then the next step they did with the experiment was they put the mice in there, or the lab rats, again, I can't recall which one it was. And then when the mice hit the lever, the pellet didn't come out. He's like, okay. So he did a couple more times, a couple of days, and it didn't come out. And he forgot about it. Once he was not getting rewarded for being kind, or I'm going to use this as an example in relationships, once you're not being rewarded for being kind or being sweet or whatever, again, you give, and a person does not give you anything in return for that, we just walk away and leave. You're like, okay, obviously this person doesn't want me, they don't need me, whatever the case may be, we walk away and leave. And that's the same thing the mice did. They were like, okay, when I pull this lever, when I do this thing, nothing happens. So they just forgot about it. The next thing they did, though, which is where becomes essential, and how many of us get trapped in negative and abusive relationships. What they did was they put the mice back in there, they put the same lever in there, and when the mice, they touched it with the lever, the pellet came out. He's like, okay, cool, okay, so we back on this, I'm back on being rewarded. Well, then, he pushed it another time, the pellet didn't come out. He's like, okay, I did this thing, but I didn't get the reward. So he tries it again, and a pellet comes out. He's like, okay. So now he's somewhat attached to this lever because it does it sometimes and sometimes it doesn't, right? So he's attached enough to keep trying because occasionally he's rewarded for it and occasionally he's not rewarded for it. So he's trying to figure out, what do I need to do to get this reward? Can you see yourself in a relationship here? How often are we with someone and, it's like, okay, I do this thing and they treat me the way I want to be treated, right? So you continue to do that thing. And then you do that thing and then they don't treat you the way you want to be treated. And so you kind of pull back a bit. But when you start pulling back, they start acting as the way that you enjoy them acting again. And that's called intermittent love. Sometimes they give it to you, sometimes they don't. But it's just enough to kind of keep this pulling you in and getting you at a point where you're getting ready to leave or getting ready to pull back. And when they see that, they draw you back in. Because now you're somewhat, for lack of a better verb, addicted to the sensation or the feeling or whatever it is they give you. And you want more of that. That's human nature. Nothing to beat ourselves up about, right? Like, I want to be loved. We want to be loved. We want to be lovingly received and accepted for the love and the wonderful things that we do for another human being. But oftentimes people, based on their situation, has nothing to actually even do with you. It's all about them in that case. When someone is acting a certain way, it's not personal, right? I know people have a really hard time receiving that, but it's not personal in that case. It's about them. How someone reacts or how someone behaves is a reflection of them, not a reflection of you. But how you act and how you behave is a reflection of you. Clear, right? Everyone kind of gets that when they're being really honest with themselves. So in situations where you find yourself with intermittent love, where someone is giving, receiving, taking just enough to kind of keep you hooked, because literally it will actually start to drive you crazy. And I mean that in the truest sense of the word. You will find yourself going, what have I done? Hi, Michael. He always says hi. I appreciate that so much. You will find yourself going, what is wrong with me? What I done, because I'm doing the same thing I've always been doing. I'm pushing the lever. I'm being loving. I'm being caring. I'm being, receptive to their needs. And this person is pushing me away. They're not giving me what I need. And just when I start to say to hell with it, they try to draw me back in. That's intermittent love. And when I promise you, it will drive you crazy. And I tell you about intermittent love as it relates to payoffs and belief systems from Tuesday, is that you want to start to recognize other people's behaviors while you're in relationships to help you empower yourself. Because remember, we're always relating to something. We always have a contrast. Something's always going on that's contrasting with something else. And that's the only thing that's the only way we can actually understand anything. I'm gonna give you an example about that. I'm tall. I'm 5'10" without shoes on. So for a woman, that's considered pretty tall, right? Honestly, 6'3" with stilettos on. People always say to me, like, "Oh my God, you're so tall." Well, I live in a house full of tall people. My kids are tall. Everybody's tall. So I don't think of myself as tall when I'm at home. I actually don't even see that I'm as tall as I am until I'm around other people who are what? Short. And that's what happens. Relationships have to have some level of contrast for us to understand them. So we get that on some level in our head. So we're thinking when we're in intermittent love situations that perhaps this is just a contrast, right? Well, every day's not going to be a good day. Everything's not always going to be great. And so we stick it out. We're sticking around thinking that's what's going on. But the key to really understanding intermittent love is that no matter what your behavior is, the other person seems to be controlling the level, if that makes sense. They're putting it in or taking it out. And when you see that, that's when I want you to be empowered to understand now you, not them, have to make a choice. Is this a situation I want to stay in, or is this a situation I really need to avoid and get away from? I'll tell you this, I'm not real quick to tell people to leave relationships. I'm just not. Not unless they're really abusive, be it physically, emotionally. Otherwise, I'm really keen at helping people understand this is abuse. You need to get out and go see a therapist. But when I'm not quick to be like, just to hell with it, because relationships, as I said before, do have to have contrast, or we will become bored, or neglectful, or complacent. So you do have to have a level of contrast. I always tell people life is kind of like your heartbeat or heart monitor. It should be doing like this. It really should be going up and down. The only time we have a major issue is when it flatlines. Everything is not always going to be a great day. We're going to have valley experiences. We're going to be at the base of the mountain. The goal is to walk up the mountain, and walking up a mountain can be a bit of a struggle, right? It's hard, it's difficult, it's hard going up a mountain. I work out and I know, I'm like, oh my God. But you get to the mountaintop and you appreciate what you've been through. So I don't believe that relationships should not have some sense of contrast. They should just not be abusive. Abuse and contrast are two very different things, and we can talk about that another day. So understanding that even though something may have contrast, a relationship is not always perfect, it's not always great, you need to determine, am I with someone that is controlling the lever? Is there intermittent love here? Like no matter what I give, they're playing this kind of give and take, because it should be a constant give even when things are at a contrast, and they're not always going to be equal, so to speak. People say, we should be able to give it 50-50. I'm a cry bullshit on that all the time, because there's days it's going to be 80-20 on one person's side, 70-30 on another person's side, but it should always balance itself out, that you both are together giving 100%, even if it's not always in the exact same way. That is equitable. It's an equitable exchange. But in intermittent love, there's not an equitable exchange. There's someone kind of controlling the lever as to when they're going to give, when they're going to take, and they're kind of have you as a puppet on the string, and that's not a situation you want to be in. So if you find yourself in a situation where you're feeling like you're a puppet on the string and things are catastrophic, they're going kind of like, this doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good. Intermittent love doesn't feel good. As I said before, it will have you thinking you're crazy. That no matter what you do, no matter how giving you are, no matter loving, receptive, what have you, this person, you feel like you're a puppet on a string. I'm going to tell you, you need to really, truly consider leaving that situation, or consider therapy. And oftentimes people who are kind of intermittent lovers are a bit of a narcissist. So you may still want to also consider, is this someone worth staying with? But the power is in looking at yourself first and foremost, and taking a feel of what's going on inside of me. How does this relationship feel? I'm a bit of a spiritual person. I always say the Holy Spirit dwells in your gut. Like people say they think with their heads or their hearts. I say, let's start really feeling with our gut. It never leads you astray. You can feel when something's not right, because you get that feeling in your stomach. You can feel, when you're in love and things just feel all effervescent. You feel it in your gut. That's where you feel it. The greatest power is already within you to know which way to turn. But I'm trying to empower you to know the tough questions to ask and the things to see. And the person you always have to ask is yourself. Ask yourself, how does this relationship feel? And why do I feel this way? And what do I need to do here? How do I take myself to the next level? How do I get to a higher feeling, a higher thought, a higher vibration? It's always about you asking yourself the tough questions. The other person becomes completely irrelevant. Because when you empower yourself, you begin to empower those around you. And if they want to be in and around you at your greatest and your highest light, they will either come up to that level or they will move out of your way. So trying to understand what someone else is doing really becomes completely irrelevant when you're trying to get yourself to your best and highest good. And when you're dealing with someone who's giving you intermittent love, and you're starting to feel like I'm a puppet on a string, and this doesn't feel good, this doesn't feel healthy, this doesn't make me feel great, it's time for you to go within and say, what do I need to do here? Again, I'm all about removing victimhood. Just because they're holding the lever does not mean they hold the power. The power is still yours to stay, to go, to ask yourself the tough questions, to be your best self and your greatest and highest good. So I hope that makes a little sense with the intermittent love and why sometimes we get into these relationships and we're trying to figure out, how did I even get here? And when it comes to intermittent love, it's really easy to end up there. But if and when you find yourself there, I'm telling you right now, you really need to pull back. If you're giving a person the best that you have of yourself, and be honest, if you're not giving the best of yourself, then you can't cry victim, okay? But if you're giving the very best of yourself and you're giving your all, and sometimes we think we're giving our all, and we have to sit back and ask ourselves again the tough question, am I really, or am I holding back because I'm afraid? And this person is also now reflecting my fear. They're holding back. So two people withholding is not necessarily intermittent love, because remember, intermittent love is kind of a puppet on a string, puppet on a string. Two people holding back are two people holding back and being fearful, because there's only two types of people: those who avoid fear and those who move towards love. You know, those are thrill seekers and fear avoiders. That's it. Either you're avoiding pain or you're seeking pleasure. And if you're with someone and you're avoiding pain, because we can only love to the degree that we're willing to be hurt, then you cannot say someone is intermittent love if you're constantly withholding yourself. But if you're giving your best, you're pulling the lever, and you're seeking this, and you're giving this person everything that you have, and they give it to you sometimes, and sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't, and it's a back and forth, then that's intermittent love. But if you're both withholding because you're fearful, you're just unfortunately playing at the same base level. And then you also have to make a choice if you want to rise up to a higher level and be better yourself. And say either I'm going to give my all in this relationship, or I'm going to step outside this relationship and get back with myself and do more internal healing before I even attempt to get in a relationship with someone else, because right now I'm too fearful to even truly love someone else. Again, we can only love to the degree that we're willing to be hurt. And if you're not willing to be hurt, you're really not willing to be loved, because there's a great risk and being truly vulnerable with another human being. I'm not saying you're seeking someone to hurt you, but I'm saying, let's be honest, if you truly love someone and give them the very best of yourself, there is a possibility that you could be hurt. That's the possibility. So either you are seeking the reward and the beauty of love, or you're avoiding the pain and the fear of not having love. So you're only doing one or two things in that situation. But again, let's be very clear. I'll reiterate one more time. Intermittent love is someone that no matter how much you give, as you're saying, you're giving the greatest and highest of yourself. You're not playing a fear-based relationship. You're truly seeking love and giving love. And that person on the other end is, when even no matter how much love you give, they give you their love sometimes they remove it. And the more that you try to give, the more they try to pull back. They're like a puppet on the string. That's intermittent love. Two individuals that are fear-based and avoiding truly giving the best of themselves, they're both equally avoiding. And that's not intermittent love. That's just a fear-based relationship. So, hope that made some things clear. Guys, thank you again for just sharing this afternoon with me. I try not to make these things too long, because I know my attention span is about 2.5 seconds. I'm really a hyper person. So, that's that. Okay, I'll mention my book again. Not that I'm selling it, but I do want you guys to know I am a published author. It's called Would You Marry You? An Introspection And as always, I'm doing the introspection, and I help share that with other people. So again, my name is Febury Hassan. Thanks for sharing your day with me, and I want you to know that you're never without power, because true power lies within. Have a great day. Talk to y'all soon. Peace.